Hello, hello, everyone.
Hi,
We are
everyone.
live. Let me just double check. Yes, looks good. All right. How are you, Anna?
I'm good. I'm a bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie. It's my first stream.
You will be just fine, I promise. All right. First of all, let me share the new followers before we start. And in the meantime, everyone watching can let us know where you come from. And what time is it for you? For me, it's 4 p.m. What time is it for you, Anna?
For me, it's 1 p.m.
Nice. That's a
Just
nice
had
time.
just had lunch.
Nice, nice. All right. So, I always love to read the new followers. I read Vanessa, I think. Yes. Muley for Life, Vanessa. Ronixar, Ganasanand, Chandunalevoina. 9 p.m. for Anish. Nice. That is commitment. Thank you for coming.
Indeed.
Dronixar, Gasana. Oh, I read that. Srinath, Rajanit, Rajesh, Malor, Ashish, and Vishteha. Awesome. All right, so those are not the new followers. Thank you so much for following us. And remember, if you're not following us on Twitch, you can just go to twitch.tv/Mulesoft underscore community, and you will be able to see all of our previous recordings. You will see our schedule. By the way, our schedule is going to change in March, so keep posted for that. And all of this month is basically Anypoint Code Builder. Hello, Prudby, 4 p.m., same as me. Nice. And hey, Felix, Shadow Devil. Hello. All right. Awesome. So, last stream we did Anypoint Code Builder, the first part with Akshara and Simone. And we will continue that part on Thursday. So for now, in the meantime, oh, for me it's 10 p.m. Nice.
Wow.
And you're here with us. Thank you. All right. So, yes, and we will see now from the DataWeave perspective. I believe some people asked for it last Thursday as well. So, you will be
Yep.
able to see here with Anna what is the DataWeave, how to use the DataWeave thing from Anypoint Code Builder. So, that will be awesome. How do you feel
Yep.
about that?
Good. Yeah, I think you've been showing a bunch of times how DataWeave works now in Visual Studio Code, and that's really the backbone of what we built for Code Builder. So I'm excited to show all the hard work from the team. And I also know how much people love the playground. So I want to show how you can get some of that playground experience and way more, I would say, with Anypoint Code Builder. So,
Amazing.
yep.
All right, let's see
Um,
it. Hey, Manik.
Hi, Monique. So, should we get started?
Yeah, let's see it.
Okay, so what I have prepared uh, is based mostly on DataWeave. So, like I said, I want to show you how to get a bit of that playground experience. Let me see. Can you guys see my screen okay? Let me
Yes, but it
see.
would be nice if you can zoom in a little bit.
Maybe there?
Yeah, cool.
Okay. So just to focus on DataWeave, I have sort of mocked what would be an API call. So that's here in this flow. And it's just a hard-coded example. To make this a bit more interesting, I'm going to be showing you an API that returns the on-call schedule for a team, and how you can work with DataWeave to create a very nice Slack message where you can share with your team who is on call and who needs to get ready for a week of maybe triaging or being ready for any escalation. This is based on an actual application that we built some time ago. And so, yeah, let's get started. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll create a new flow. Let's call this Slack notifier. Oh, I had it already, sorry. Let's create a transform then. Just get started with that. The easiest way to create a transform is to just type in transform. Then you get this, which I think you showed last time, where you can get just the whole structure already. And now you can see in the flow view that this transform has showed up. One quick thing just to show you what I have set up. You can check out the metadata that's reaching this transform over here. And we can see that we are getting an on-calls array within this object, and this on-call object is giving us some escalation policies that have the users. So basically, this is just an order list of people that are on call. The last and the other one are the ones that are actually going to be having a shift, right? So one thing that I wanted to showcase is the preview. I think that is, to me, the most playground-like experience that you can get. Because I'm going to be focusing on DataWeave, let me just focus entirely on this. When you have a DataWeave script like this, you'll see this light bulb show up. And this is how you can trigger a lot of actions, including the preview. If you just run this, you wait a second, and as you can see, just like in the playground, you can get the actual result of this script. So while you work on this, you can check the result. Now, like I mentioned, we have this metadata, and what we want to do is to get a look at who is going to be on call. So who is this user that we have over here? So let me just get rid of all this and just focus on trying to reach that data. One thing that you'll notice is that you have auto-completion based on this metadata. So as I type in payload, I get the suggestion, and then if I type again, I get the suggestions to start going through the data. So first thing we can do is we can go to this on-calls array, and if we just get the last one, we'll be getting who is the primary person on call. Now, one thing that you'll notice is that if I try to run the preview again, well, I don't actually have a sample for payload. So I'm going to get an error. But you will also get this highlighted blue thingy, which is going to offer a quick fix. And the quick fix is to actually add sample data. So if I click here, I can select now between JSON, XML, and CSV for now, and I can create my payload. And just like you would with the playground, you can copy and paste. Let me get quickly the example that I have somewhere else. So let's just copy and paste that. And Alex, if you have questions at any time, just let me know. Or if anyone in the anyone else has questions, just let me know.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Now I've added this sample, just copy and paste it. And if I now run the preview, I will get the results. So in this case, we have Christian on call. So if I wanted to get the summary information to just get his name, I can, again, get in auto-completion based on the metadata available, which is coming from the API call. I can get quick suggestions on how to navigate to this data. So now, if we run preview again, we will get just Christian's name. Okay, so that's a bit of how you can get this playground-like experience. Now, like I said, the objective here that I wanted to reach was not just to get who is on call, but to create a very nice message, right? So this is something that I discovered the first time that I built a Slack integration. We have this block kit builder. Have you seen this before, Alex?
Yep.
This is a great asset. It basically lets you test out how you will build a Slack message. And you can see the JSON that you would need to create in order to get this beautiful message into Slack. Now, I have a much simpler version of this that I want to recreate, which is just a message with some sections and dividers saying who is on call and a button to just reschedule in case someone cannot make it or has something that they need someone else to cover. So there's the first way that you can go about this in CodeBuilder and with DataWeave is just to copy all of these into your DataWeave code. This is a JSON, so it's pretty standard. It will work. But the truth is that this is a lot of boilerplate. Like you have a lot of repeated information and so on. So first time I had to deal with one of these integrations, that's what I did. I just copied everything. But then we did something which I find very useful, which is we created a library that kind of abstracts all of these Slack block kit components. And so in CodeBuilder now, you can actually get this library. You can just go to the command palette and use the import asset from Exchange option. And here you can select that you want to import a DataWeave library. And yeah, it needs to go into Anypoint platform. Oh, it logged me out. Okay, no problem. Do it. Okay. So now I can finally search for the Slack library. There it is. You can just use the initial version, and now the dependency has been added. So this library, one of the things, let me just quickly show you a very cool thing before showing you the library. I basically want to get started with a clean script. So I will just extract this to a variable. This is why I said that this has way more functionality than the playground. We can extract this into a variable, and we can actually rename this to whatever we want. So let's just say that this is the primary on-call. And as you can see, we refactor everything, and now everything is perfect. So how would you go about using this library? Well, the cool thing about the DataWeave integration in CodeBuilder is that we also offer quick fixes. So here we see the red that we get, but we also get this blue light bulb offering quick fixes. And one of these quick fixes is, of course, to create our own blocks function. But the other one is to just import it from the library that we just added into our project. So I'll just do that. I'll get now here the import for the blocks function. And just so you can see how this blocks function works, we can run the preview again. And you'll see now that I will be getting the result of, this needs an argument. That brings me to something else. Let's say that you're getting an error like this. Another interesting thing is that you can hover over the functions, and you can get the documentation for this function. So here I can see that it actually needs an array to execute. And I can also navigate to the definition. So I can see here the actual definition of this library function and see that I need to have this array. Okay, so let's fix this and let's run it again. Here we go. So now what you will see is that I have the basic structure that I need in Blockit, right? So if I send this to Slack, it's just going to be an empty message, but I can start working on it to get it better. So one of the first things I'll need is a section, and let's just make our lives easier and import everything from the Slack library. Once we do that, you'll see that I started getting suggestions on the functions that I have available. So I can start a section, and let's just copy this because I won't remember what it was that my message needed to have. So there we go. We have this section defined, and I can start checking the preview again to see that everything is working more or less as expected. It's sometimes hard to get the light bulb, but hover around a little bit and it will be there. So this is starting to shape up a bit more like the message that I want. So let's add some dividers that I had there in the code. And let's get to the actual interesting part, which is sharing who is on call, right? Which I'm not sure if it's interesting, but at least it's useful. So what we'll want is something like this, right? We'll want to have these nice emojis and these bold letters and all that. Oh, sorry. Now, this is when I need to start making things dynamic, and that's why using something like a library is useful. The on-call shift is not going to be just hard-coded. I'm actually going to need to get this data from the API. So now I can just concatenate this to the primary variable that I have over there. And so now, if we run the preview, you'll see that this is now looking right. I'm getting the data from the actual on-call API call. So let me see what else can we show. Let's complete this. And I'm curious, Alex, if there's anything in particular that you'd like to see.
Not right now. I'm just following the example.
Okay. So let's get this completed. This would be secondary. And now we need to get the person that's second to last. So one easy thing that we can do is we can just copy this. It will be exactly the same, except it will be the second to last, so -2. So let's just copy this. It'll be a little bit, it'll be showing an error, but we can just call this secondary and get the second to last. And then we can just do secondary. Now, something that's a bit more advanced regarding Slack is that if you just post a message like this, then people won't actually be mentioned, right? The way to get actual mentions in is that you need a very specific syntax, And you also need the user ID for whoever it is you want to mention. You can find that data in Slack, and you can just get their IDs. In order to get that, let's first start with a new function to define the syntax that we need. So the syntax that we actually need, if we were to add it here, let's say, it's actually something like this. So you need to add, and you need the greater and less than symbols. So it would be something like this if we had the IDs, right? Now, I use the summary, but we actually have the IDs as well. So let's try that. And this is why I think the preview is such a useful tool, because I don't know what I'm doing most of the time, right? And this is what lets me see and actually validate that things are working as expected. So now this is the kind of way that you would get the mentions to work. But there's a very bothersome issue, which is that these IDs are coming from the on-call APIs. This is not IDs for Slack, but we can build just a very simple transformation in a second. But what I wanted to show you is that there's actually another cool refactor that you can do, which is the, oh, it's not showing it. I can work around that in a second. You can actually extract a function. So let's try and do that. Okay, so I can take out this entire section, and I can build quickly my own function that, as you can see, I'm doing almost the exact same thing below. So if I don't want to repeat myself, I can just create a new function. Let's call this Slack mention or something like that. And what we're going to do is, instead of having it just be hard-coded to the primary, we're going to add a couple of parameters, right? And this is something else that you can do on Hover. I showed before how you can get the documentation of the different functions to show up, and you can get the examples with highlighting and everything. But if you are hovering over values, you'll get the type. So let's add a couple of parameters. One will be the name of whoever is on call. And this is something that I personally like, which is to add the types for everything. I'm not sure if we've covered in some past stream maybe, but if you do this, it's going to be super easy to make sure that the times that you're calling this function, everything works as expected, and it's just a very good practice. But one thing that we have added that I'll show in a second is that you can have, in certain scenarios, DataWeave calculate this for you. So for example, here I have this user that is an actual complex object. And if, let me see if I can get this. Okay, if I hover over the primary variable, I can add the type annotation for this value. So it's going to add all of these complex object definition, but I can also, if I remember correctly, I can extract this into a variable, which is going to be a type. So we're getting into the very advanced, but that's something that you can do. You can quickly build complex types just by using the add type annotation helper, and the extract refactor. Now we have a type user. So instead of having the name here be a string, I can actually just make this take user and make this a little bit more interesting, because now if I go to primary, I can take the ID, right? And I'll show in a second why that is going to work wonders for me. The other thing that I need to extract, sorry, this is my parameter user, is this section, right? Because this section actually changes right here. I have a different emoji. I have a different title that I want to share. So let's fix this because the error is bothering me. So here I would like to do the same thing, right? I would like to call a Slack mention function with secondary or with this. So what we'll do is I'll just add another parameter called message. This one is a string, and I'll just have this be that message. So now here it's going to complain, of course, but I can just quickly leave it a string already. I can quickly fix it. Okay, so I refactor this quite a bit. I'm missing this right here. I refactored this quite a bit. That's another reason I like the preview. I can just run it again and make sure that everything is as it was and that I didn't mess anything up. So now finally I can, like I said, refactor these two and just call the Slack mention function instead of just doing the calculations inline and so on. Let me check. Oh, secondary is, here's is why I think it's important to add your types. As you can see, this is failing. And this is failing because since I have added the type annotation for my parameters, it can tell that this secondary variable is a string and this function is expecting a user. So without running anything, I can now know that this is wrong and I need to change it. And now the error goes away. And again, we can run this again. And now see the other on-call shift has now changed to the mention. Okay, last thing I will show probably, and then I'll hear what people are talking about, or maybe Alex, hear your thoughts on this. Like I mentioned, in this case, these IDs are coming from our API call. So they are not actually IDs for Slack. These mentions won't work. So what we need to do is we actually need to map the IDs from this external system to Slack. So one very quick way to do this is just to have a function to do that. So let's say we do something like to Slack ID, and we just pass this user ID. Again, you can take advantage of the quick fixes. You'll get offer. Oh, it's showing up here. Sorry. Let's see. Create function. You can take advantage of those to quickly work through this. This again, it's taking the user ID, but that won't be very useful, I think. We'll see in a second. Let's just create this mapping. I'm just going to go with the quickest way to do this, not necessarily the best way to do it. But let's just say for these examples that we have here, that we create a map that goes from this API IDs to Slack IDs. So let's just put whatever IDs, pretending that, pretending that they are proper Slack IDs. Normally, if you're curious about this, when on Slack you see a user, you can navigate to their profile, and there you can actually copy and paste their user ID. So let's just do whatever. With this map, what we can do is just have a selection of these param, right? I don't like this name, so let's just call it ID. And again, declare our types and declare the output of this function. So this is a string. Now we have this ID. So the only difference now is that these IDs should change to whatever it is that we have selected for Slack. Okay, now they are being mapped. One thing that could go wrong here is that maybe we don't have a mapping. So one thing that we could do is we could just try and refactor this so we get the user and we get some default in case it's not there. But for now, let's just leave it at that. The only thing that we have missing, and let's maybe just run the check. Let's run the preview one more time. And let's go to Block Kit Builder, and see how this will look. Here we have this. Okay, so we can replace this and see what we got. Okay, so compared to what I had built, this is looking pretty good. We have dimensions now, which is great, but we are still missing this reschedule button. So let's see how we can do that. The way to add buttons is with this actions section. So who knows, maybe we have that in our library. I think we had another divider. And then let's see. Yeah, we have an actions function already. And this function takes an array of elements. So in this case, we'll want a button. Let's see if we have any functions. Yeah, we have button with URL, and button with value. In this case, we just want a simple URL because we just want to redirect people to the system of record that actually has the on-calls, right? So there you go. We get an error because we're not having any parameters. We can see the documentation. It's saying that it takes a text, which is what we're going to see in the button, the ID, and the URL. Okay, so that's simple enough. We schedule. We'll call this on-call redirect, maybe. And then we'll just have this URL to a very, very fake on-call site. So I don't know, something like this, and some ID for or on-call, whatever. Okay, so let's see if this is now working. Like I said, best thing, the preview. Run it again. Now we have these actions. Let's see if I finally got this to look exactly the way I want it. So here I didn't have a button, and there we go. Now we have the button. So now, first of all, this is more or less done. If I now run this, it will generate this beautiful Slack message. I can send this over to Slack, and it will look beautiful. But second, as you can see, this is a much powerful experience than the playground. You have refactors, you have code navigation, you have documentation you can check right here. You have quick fixes to make sure that you can quickly work around any issues. And yeah, this is just a little bit of what we are offering in this beta. What else? Oh, one more thing. Of course, this works in expressions too. So if I add, say, a logger, and here I add some data with code, this would work. For example, let's see. Let's say I don't know, let's do something simple. Let's just do the payload. You'll get this same quick fix to add sample data so that you can see whatever it is that you are doing here. You will get auto completion as you type. Now we're getting the Slack message in your payload, so that's why it's suggesting blocks and so on. So all of these with the preview and refactors, everything, it also works in expressions. And yeah, this is more or less what I wanted to show you today. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't think we have any questions, but yeah, hopefully no one will be copy and pasting anymore from the playground, even though the playground is very useful and I still love it. But I think in the future, everyone should be able to do everything they want right in the IDE. So,
Well, I have a question.
yep.
I normally just get all my DataWeave code from the XML and put it in an external DWL
Yeah.
file. How can you do that here?
Well, that is one refactor that we consider. Like, what do you think? Wouldn't it be cool to just select everything or
Yeah.
just extract everything? We don't have that right now, but it is something that we consider. If you wanted to do that, then you can create the DataWeave resources right here, and you can just do the same thing that you do where I think it's here. Then you can do, well, it's not specific, but I think it's here that you can do resource and just point to the DataWeave code. So yeah, you can do that.
Okay. And then once you have that, can you basically like have the same functionality that you have from the DataWeave
Sad,
extension?
sadly, no,
Mm.
but I'll leave it as an Easter egg for you. There is a way to do it. That's all that I would say. We can explore it maybe in another session, but there is a way. Yeah.
All right. Fair.
But yes, hopefully we'll get that out of the box. It's in the roadmap. I would love to explore these sort of refactors too, like you mentioned, where you can quickly extract your code, because I don't know if you've experienced this. I'm sure you have, Alex, where data with code can start growing,
Yep.
and it's very easier. It's easier to manage it if you have it in a file,
Mhm.
and it's easier to validate it, to test it. So yeah.
All right. And also the unit testing framework, can you already use it here or not yet?
No, not yet. But I have seen some people play around with it, and they have gotten it to work. The thing is with the testing framework is that if you look at libraries, there's a lot of setup that you need in your POM file. So you would need to replicate that. But yeah, that's something else that we have considered, which is to allow people to test their data with files. which I think it would be very interesting. It would be harder to test this just because embedded like this, it would be very hard. But since a lot of people have that practice of extracting things, I think that's something that we definitely need to explore.
Okay.
And by the way, for any feedback on Code Builder, you can go to, I think it's GitHub, right?
I don't know.
Let me look it up.
Yeah.
I can look it up.
In the meantime, are there any questions regarding DataWeave in Anypoint Code Builder that we can solve right now for you?
Let me see. Oh, here it is.
Okay.
Can I just put it in the chat?
Yeah. Private chat, and then I can put it here.
Okay. So for any feedback, you can share it on GitHub. And there's also a Trailblazer discussion topic that you can join. Let me share that as well. I think the GitHub URL is much easier to navigate because it's very, very simple. That's the Trailhead discussion. So yeah, we would love to get your feedback and ideas as well. Like Alex mentioned, there's a testing framework. There's some refactors that are very interesting to consider. So far, we have the extract function, extract variable, the rename refactors. But when you go into the actual mule application, then there are a lot more things that we can consider.
And also remember to go check out the landing page in dataweave.mulesoft.com. There you can find a ton of resources like GitHub, Stack Overflow, Slack. You can also see the DataWeave CLI that is already open source, and you can get all of your news from there.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that, Alex.
Yeah.
I'm super proud of that site. It has everything you need for DataWeave. And don't forget the tutorial. It's such a useful thing for anyone that's a newcomer or just getting started. You can get a very, very quick look into DataWeave in an interactive way with the tutorial that you can find right there.
Awesome. Well, there's still 15 minutes. So is there something else that maybe you can try so we can see how it works?
So into the dangerous zone, right? The things that I haven't tried.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me see. I'm not sure I can think of. Let me see if I can think of anything. I'm not sure there's anything.
Well, you can try, for example, extracting the code into a new file.
Yeah.
Simple.
I think that, let's see. Let me share again my screen.
There you go.
Okay. If I wanted to do this, I think the way to do it is like the just very simple new file. I can do something like, let's say, how would you call this? I don't know, on call to Slack, DWL. Okay, and now I think the way to do it is, I might need to look this up. So that way we've extracted everything, and that's fine. You will get highlighting, as far as I know, but you won't get the Visual Studio Code experience. After doing this, I think maybe we can look it up in the documentation. I think that what you need to do is close this, and I think here you can do resource, and you would just do on call to Slack, if you will. And I think I've seen this. Oh yeah, this is a nice find that I tested the other day. You can navigate to the resource, which is very nice. I think I requested this at some point, and I'm very happy that it made it. So now the way to test it is the uncharted waters of actually running this application. We have the logger here, so this should work. Let's just add maybe an HTTP endpoint. But first, let's declare a listener. So let's use a listener config. We'll name it, I don't know. I'm not very creative today, so we'll just call it trigger. We'll add the connection, 8081, looks good. So now we have that. We can actually go here and add a listener, so we can trigger this. Path, let's just, again, not very creative, just test. And for config ref, let's call out to trigger. Okay, so now I think that we should be able to test this by running the application. So let's run it and see what happens. Alex wants me to sweat a little bit. Let's see if this works.
I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah, I don't remember if the resource goes there, but maybe my meal knowledge hasn't left me quite yet. Let's see. At least it's starting up.
Yeah, it hasn't crashed yet.
Yeah.
Last Thursday, Akshara was having like a lot of errors. And then she tried to fix them after the stream was done, and it worked. Like she didn't have any errors anymore.
Well, I seem to be having more luck. This is deployed, but now the time for truth. One thing that I like to do is just test it out right here in the terminal. So let's do curl localhost 8081 test, and it worked perfectly.
Amazing.
Wow. I think like I should try the lotto today, you know?
This never happens.
This is not the usual demo.
Nope.
No, and again, if we take this, which is now not the preview, right? This is an actual live application. Let's test it out in BlockKit to see if it will look nice. It looks perfectly.
Awesome.
This is like my favorite integrations are Slack integrations because they're just so fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is working. And I think someone asked last time about debugging. Maybe we can try our luck and test that out. Let's see if we can stop here at the logger, maybe. So at this point, we should have our DataWeave data generated, but we shouldn't be able to see it in the output. One thing that I think that it's a bit different from Studio is that I think that you are always debugging. I might be wrong, we'll try it. But that's just Visual Studio Code. Yeah, you can see that there's not a difference between running and debugging. So at any point, if you're running, you can just add your breakpoints and it will work. So let's see how this looks. I have my mule message, which is a payload, and I can already see here the blocks. Let's see, we can copy the value and test it again. And oh, it has the output from the, with all the ends and stuff. But yeah, it's looking good. And let's see, I'm not that familiar. I can step over. So now I got my output, right? This is from, oh, let's see yeah, this is my current code. It worked. So it stopped, and then after the step over, you continue. Yeah, so that's how you would go about debugging. You can see your mule message. You can see your variables. Let's try that. Let's try, for example, set variable. And here we can maybe, let's try, I'll move this a bit farther up so that I can take data from the actual API call. And you can see something a bit more interesting. So at this point, we have the data from the on-call object. I'm not sure we can get anything that interesting, but let's try, just for the sake of trying the debugger. So on-calls, and maybe we can get the size of this. We can put that in a variable. And again, you can navigate to functions definitions. So here you're actually seeing the definition of the size of function and how its documentation it's written and so on. You get the option to add sample data. I won't do that again because I want to see this running. And let's put a name to this. So let's say on-call count. Okay. So I'll stop this execution and I'll start one again. Now I have this variable. So when I go to this breakpoint, I should be able to see not just a mule message, but this variable with data from my API call. So let's run it again. So this gets rebuilt with the new changes.
All that red looks dangerous.
I think that's just the coloring that's not showing up. I think it's supposed to be some color. I don't know if red.
Yeah, because actually I was seeing the same and it was weird.
And yeah, it definitely makes you worry, but I think it's just a bash configuration. So let's see. Let's cross our fingers. Everything goes well. It's deployed.
Yay.
Okay. So let's now call this again. And we get the breakpoint. It has stopped before the logger. And if we look at our variables, we have on-call count, which is 3. And this makes sense because I remember that in my example, and I think we could actually navigate because I have added it as a sample. I think I had 1, 2, 3. And this is the same data that I'm mocking in the application. So it is correct. I have 3 on-calls. And we can see again the mule message with the blocks and everything. And let's see. I'm not sure I can step into because this is just a logger. So let's just step over and I get the output. So yeah, that's how you would go about debugging and seeing the state of your application.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I'm so thankful that I Everything worked. Yeah. Yeah, this is a very simple application, but it gets the job done. You can see all of the goodies here from DataWeave and everything. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was certainly a lot of effort, and I definitely want to give a shout out to the entire DataWeave team and the ACV team that work on this integration. And yeah, hopefully there'll be more to come.
Yeah. Do you have any timeline for when the visual drag and drop will be live?
Oh no, I know that it's in the roadmap, but we'll have to see. I don't know. Maybe Simon can knows that. I've been super focused on the DataWeave bits and trying to get this playground-like experience. Yeah, I say would be a win to even get people to have something that's even better than the playground. That would be, I think, the ultimate goal. We'll see.
Well, I'm already using the extension in VS Code because it's so amazing. But it
Yeah.
did take me some time to get used to it, to be honest. But now that I
It,
know, it's just so easy.
yeah. I think it also takes a bit to get used to Visual Studio Code. I know that that was true for me.
Mm.
I wasn't that familiar. And so things like debugging and this understanding that you're always debugging and you don't have to do anything special. All of those things take a little bit getting used to, but then it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, once you know, it's awesome. I haven't used a playground in so long.
Wow, that's very good news for us. We love the playground, but I think that with VS Code and Code Builder, you can get an even better experience, and you can get it in the